And welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. Federal Reserve is going to make an announcement. I have a couple of bullet points from it before they announce at 2 o'clock. I thought we could touch on them. I also mentioned you the other day about people not wanting to talk about the recession. Do you remember me telling you about this? So we'll touch on that briefly. You told me the story about a Pennsylvania school. They're trying to tighten up the library books. You and I found that fascinating. Actually, kind of for two different reasons.
The announcement. Yeah. It's a bizarre story. And not for the reasons that you think on the surface.
Totally agree with you. And then the announcement of a new TV reality competition. I sent you a link to this morning. I have down, you're going to really like this segment because I broke down the different TV competitions into categories. And I want to introduce to you a new category that I believe should be real. Like there need to be TV competition shows in this category that does not exist yet. And I think you'll be on board.
Are you sure you want to leak this? I mean,
I do.
Is this your $1 billion idea?
I want to pitch it to you. Yes. I want to pitch it to you and I want you to tell me how wrong I am or how right I am.
Okay. Well, my fear is if you're really right, someone's going to steal it, and then you're going to be like,
I don't think so. Before we get to the Federal Reserve announcement and a couple of bullet points there, how are you feeling today?
I feel surprisingly good considering. Okay. So you weren't there last night. We had Summer League basketball last night, and it was at Milton.
Okay.
And have you been to Milton's gym lately?
I was there when the construction was going on.
Okay, there's still a little construction.
Okay.
We played last night. They just redid the floor.
Okay.
And it smelled like lacquer.
Yeah.
And it was 2 hours and I was worried they could have done it at noon for all I know. It smelled like fresh off the.
Like they walked out as you were walking in. Okay.
And you're just like, what if I'm gonna have a headache tomorrow? Because it just.
But you don't.
No, I feel good.
There you go.
So whatever.
They wouldn't have let you. Coach Brandt would not have let you in if it wasn't safe.
They use non-headache causing lacquer. But like when you walk into anywhere and there's an aroma and you're just like, you walked in, you're like, this is a new floor.
Yeah.
And so it's great to play on because it's new.
Yeah. I've had friends and my girlfriend make fun of me because I'm like the canary, because if I can smell it, then something's wrong. Because I can't smell anything.
I can't smell anything either.
Exactly. So like so when I say I smell something, so you're very similar. Like if you can smell it, like you're kind of like, oh, this probably might not be good. All right.
So, but it was just funny because when you walk in, like usually you're like, oh, it's hot in here. Oh, it stinks in here. You're just like, oh, they just did the floors in here.
Yeah.
So, but it's nice. And they got new turf on the football field that we saw.
They're revamping it.
And it looks really good. It'll be
nice. Let's dive into this because we got some fun stuff at the end of the show. I mentioned to you the Federal Reserve is going to make an announcement this afternoon. It's supposed to come at 2 p.m. today. CNBC and a couple of other major outlets have already released some of the bullet points that are expected to be announced. The first one is that for the first time in 28 years, this is going to be the biggest rate hike we have had. I want to give you the exact number. The exact number we're looking at is by 0.75 of a percentage point. So 0.75.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
It's my math.
It's weird because you'll hear people talk about from the, I gotta know how far back. Was this the 80s? When interest rates were like 19% and 17%.
Yeah.
For a decade now, they've been at 4 and 3.75. And so there are lots of people as they go up. There's the whole world that's like, wow, 0.75%. There's lots of people like when I bought my first home, it was 14.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, everything's relative, but it is certainly, we talked off the air about, it looks like we're heading to a recession. Obviously, we're in a financial situation that's not just going to clear up like this.
No.
And that there's groups of, mostly political groups, I guess, that are afraid to use the R word.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, how dare you say that?
So
it's like the parent who can't come home and say, my kid didn't play very well today.
So
it's like, well, no, you can say it. It's okay. You still love them. You're still like, you can say a recession might be coming and it doesn't mean.
So a bunch of bullet points here, but one of the things that goes along with what you're saying, one of the bullet points of what they're expected to announce, this is from CNBC. They want to change the language in its post-meeting statement to reflect current conditions, namely that inflation is running at a faster pace than anticipated, requiring more aggressive actions to contain price increases running at their fastest level since December of 1981. So to me, what this sounds like is they essentially are saying we need to update the language because yes, some of this stuff is coming down the barrel that we have not yet, I don't want to say like admitted to, but essentially they're saying like, yeah, this is happening. We haven't necessarily come out and used that word or used that language, but now we need to adjust it and like it's coming. I said to you, like my frustration, one of my biggest frustrations with Trump, and I told like as someone who voted for Trump or someone who was a registered Republican the first time around, one of my biggest frustrations with him during the pandemic was just this idea of like not being willing to admit that there might be a problem. Like even beforehand, it was just this idea of like, yeah, like it's happening in other countries. Like this is a thing. Like we should probably be getting prepared. And like just the language of letting people know you are aware that there's something about to happen. That was one of my biggest pet peeves.
Isn't that all politics though?
And so that's what I'm about to get to is one of my biggest pet peeves right now with this administration is their unwillingness to just talk about the idea that we are probably heading towards a recession. Like they won't even say it. They won't even, it's like, and I'm not just talking about pundits in general. Like the administration itself has tried very hard not to use the R word and not talk about the financial situation in like awareness terms. Like I'm not like you don't have to come out like your hair's on fire and be like,
right, like oh my god,
right? But like just it's the same thing. Like I wish Trump would have came out and just kind of been like hey, we need to get ready for this. Like it's on the door. Like it's and like I feel like we should be doing the same thing with this, and it feels like we're not. Maybe this announcement is the first step towards doing that, hopefully.
Don't you think that Trump showed that I say America was sick of politicians or whatever, but he was just different. And then, as you just mentioned, though, he did become he did become a politician because of things he wouldn't say. And you could tell he was very focused on reelection. Reelection became like all other politicians. Mm-hmm. But don't you think that there's all these political people and they say this is the way it is, and they're so entrenched in what they've always been told, you can't say this and you can't say this, that if there was a politician that came out and just talked about the elephant in the room, whether it was and didn't really have a party, whether it was the names we hear, Matthew McConaughey or Stephen A. Smith, or someone that's just like, everyone's talking about recession, so I'm going to talk about recession. And you have all these guys in suits and ties and, these nerdy guys backstage going, you can't say it.
Right.
And he's like, well, sure I can, because that's what everyone else is talking about.
Right.
So why can't we say it? And you see so many aspects in life of just advancements of where people, you can't do this, you can't. And we see it in sports all the time. You can't play. This is the way you do it. This is the way you do it. And then someone comes up with whether it's a new offense or whether they shoot more threes or whether they, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, that really works.
Yeah.
And there's going to be someone who is maybe not brutally honest, but just like top of your head honest. Like this is what everyone's talking about, and we're going to talk about it. And I think it would be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
But maybe. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't work, but I think it would work better because we're at a point now where nobody believes what politicians say anyway.
Well, the irony to what the Federal Reserve is going to announce today is I feel like they're going to announce a lot of things that common people already know.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm not implying the Federal Reserve is hiding this. I'm not, or anything like that. But there is, like, to your point, like addressing the elephant in the room. It feels like they're about to address an elephant that the public in their own houses have already discussed.
Been talking about.
Like, it feels like we've already been. And so was kind of my whole thing that I said to you was I'm amazed at how many people have just been afraid to admit that, like, yeah, we are probably heading, especially after what we just went through. Right. Like you would think after what we just went through in 2020, what are you as a political pundit or media coverage or in the administration, regardless of who you are, what are you possibly going to say to the American public that is worse than what we just kind of went through in the last 2 years?
And to say we're probably going there or it's probably coming.
Yeah.
It's not like tomorrow.
Right.
You've given yourself enough vagueness that I didn't put a date on it. It may be, Well, and I don't know what there has to be an official definition. There has to be an economic level or something. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But Nobody else knows what it is. People just kind of get it.
Well,
it's a bull market. It's a bear market. It's a recession.
Right. You and I just talked on the other show the other day. And again, we're not specialists by any of that. But you and I were saying, we're kind of like, yeah, like I could get ugly in October, November.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, like kind of heading like start. So it's just, I don't know. They're going to make these announcements. It feels like it's all things that the average citizen has already talked about with their friends or with their family or in their household. So I just wish they would have.
Oh, we're back.
Then I just wish they would have been. Vicky brought up a good point, though. Politicians are reactive, not proactive. And that's a good point. I believe that more and more now.
I don't mean to spin this, but I agree with. You will find this out as you get older. This is what I think, and maybe Vicky can comment on this.
Yeah,
I don't know how old Vicky is, so there are a lot of parents. There are proactive parents and there are reactive parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the parents who are really good at being a parent are way more proactive than reactive. There are lots of parents who all they do is react. They see something and then they tell their kid, well, you can't do that. And there's no like calm teaching moments. There's no, you watch something on TV, you have a discussion about it. All they do is react.
No, that's a good point. So you're saying in politics, like you think a proactive politician would be a much better politician.
It would be a breath of fresh air.
It definitely
And
would.
I think coming off of what Trump was, whether you like Trump, whether you love Trump, even the people who hate Trump, there was something about the breath of fresh air of this guy is not a career politician. Sure. And there's a real chance that when he stands on the podium, he's going to say what he thinks as opposed to what everyone else told him to say.
We're going to get super sidetracked. But I always said Trump had this unique way of when, like, once he knew he was wrong, right? Like, because those moments were few and far between, but like he did have these moments where he'd be like, and like a reporter would ask a question or he'd be like in front of the chopper waiting and he would just be like, like we got that one. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I've done that before. Like I've made that. And I'm like, I have uncles that do that. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, yeah, we got that one wrong or whatever. I do think like whether it's proactive, reactive, whatever it is, I agree with you. There is this idea of not like transparency is overused. Like I don't want to talk about transparency, but there is this idea of like, if the American household is talking about it, and I can't believe that they're that disconnected, that they don't know the American household.
I wonder how disconnected
you think they're that disconnected.
I don't know. They might be.
If they're so disconnected that they don't think the average American household knows a recession is coming, then you can't help them. Like that's a them.
I'm with you there.
That's a them problem.
I am with you there.
That's a really them problem.
It is sometimes people get so close to it that
it's hard for them to see past it.
Yeah.
No, I would agree with that.
There's just so if you've been ingrained in it that long.
Yeah.
Like there were guys, there were lifelong football coaches in the 70s,
right,
who were convinced a black guy couldn't play quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And now to our kids nowadays, they'd be like, "You mean there were black guys didn't play quarterback?" Right. You're like, "No, they didn't." And when they did, it was newsworthy. And now it's every game. Right. So, but it would, it gets instilled. You need two backs. You need a tight. You can't play without a tight end. How can you play without a tight end? How can you play without a center? You can't play a basketball game with four guards and a forward. Well, sure you can if they can all shoot. And then it's just, but
here was yesterday you asked what is the definition of a recession. I don't think we did on the show, but before the show or after the show, we were talking about the economic definition of a recession. I looked this up for you since you asked the question. A business cycle contraction when there is a general decline in economic activity.
Oh, so it's a very ballpark term. You don't have to reach this much to be.
Here's the other thing too. I think a lot of times in like politics and finances, there are terms that are convoluted to the point where like the average person would need to kind of like think about it or sit down. The definition of a recession, I would argue the majority of America can understand.
And we did. That's what we thought. Like, is it going up or is it going down? It's going down. That's a recession.
Yeah. And so just the idea that we have that we have a part of mass media and an administration and a Federal Reserve that just now today is finally willing to kind of come out and be like, we're going to change the language up a little bit. Like this is worse than what we thought it was. I don't know. I feel like every household knows this. I feel like they're playing catch up and not the other way around.
All right. You want me to read this thing?
Yeah, let's do the school libraries real quick because this is interesting.
All right. Hold on. Where did I save it? So it was from Central Bucks School. And I got this on a site. So this is either a statewide article. I can't believe it's a nationwide article, but they're newsworthy now because I got on mine. We're certainly not in Doylestown. Okay. So the Central Bucks School Board on Tuesday approved a new policy change that allows them to control which books and materials are allowed in their libraries based on sexual content. The school board voted to have the right to ban books with sexualized content with, quote, explicit written descriptions of sexual acts. The board said it does not plan to remove any books currently in the library, but will control new material in the future. So, just to paraphrase, just to sum up, the school now has control of what books go in the library. They are not going to allow books with explicit written descriptions of sexual acts. And oh, by the way, none of these books are currently in the library, but they're making this rule.
Right, so your first point.
My first point is, if none of these books are there anyway, your old policies seem to be working just fine. Okay. My second point is, hasn't the school always had control over what goes in the library? And yes, if it is, quote, explicit written descriptions, if it's essentially written porn, of course it shouldn't be in the high school library. So why do they make this announcement that goes statewide that has all these critics? Because the critics think they're going to try to spin it into LGBTQ limitations and things like that. But as it's written, they're like, we are now going to control what books go in the library. No kidding. Who did it before? It's your school district.
Yeah.
And secondly, but oh, by the way, we don't have any problems yet.
Yeah.
But we're going to do this to prevent problems. Well, how long has the school district been around? 75 years? If it hasn't been a problem for the first 75, I don't really think you needed to crack the whip now.
I agree. So my simple, boring answer, to me, this sounds like a super liability issue. I told you, I
think you might be right.
It sounds like a neighboring school district ran into an issue, and then this school district looked around and said, like, we don't have a policy.
We'll make a policy.
Right. And it sounded like they needed to put a policy. That's my simple,
super
boring
That
answer.
is as good of an explanation as I can come up with.
So my more fun going along with your point, I do I wonder if we're getting to a point now where some of the, not like description, I wonder if what is considered taboo to you or someone older than you is not as taboo to someone younger than me because of what they're exposed to. And so I do wonder if not young adult, not young teen novels, but like young adult novels that maybe used to get onto the bookshelves in libraries and high schools. I wonder if those are more exposed to certain things than what it was 20 years ago.
That's a good question. I just think too.
Last thing, do you remember the outrage over Harry Potter books being in schools?
Yes.
Do you remember? Like that was, I know that seems like so far long ago, but like 15 years, there was a real conversation of whether or not Harry Potter should be in schools. That was a thing. Like if we had a show back then, we would have spent an episode on it.
Well, I think the problem stemmed from kids would come home from school pissed because they couldn't take defending the dark arts in class. Sure. They're like, they don't offer it at my school. I want to go to a different school.
Right.
Is that what it was called?
I think it was Defense of the Dark Arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what Snape taught, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Every kid wanted to take it, and they wouldn't offer it. I don't know. I think too. Here's the other. Well, I think one of the other. I didn't have this. I just screen saved the part of the article I cared about. This school district also voted something about not having a pride flag in the library or something like that.
Same meeting or just
different meeting?
Okay.
Same school district, different meeting.
Okay.
But like, here's my other aspect too. If you get away from the liability, because I think you're probably onto something with the liability, and that's where we live in. But if you're trying to be a school and you're actually trying to help the kids, which is what the school is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like in their world, just not putting it in the library. They can see everything in the world on their phone.
Everything.
So for you to be like, nope, we're going to keep these kids wholesome because it's not going in the school library, and now they have no other way to access it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So
can I ask you something about Jimmy?
Sure.
How often do you think Jimmy goes to the high school library?
Huh. See, and we just had this discussion. We used to go all the time, but we didn't have computer labs. We didn't have and we couldn't sit. Not that we did anything. We went to the library to read magazines and stuff. But
the high school, it also was bizarrely a congregational point.
Yes.
At a time.
Yes.
I'm not implying it was like the party of the school.
That's a good question.
But there was like, I do wonder, like today, if you're like a sophomore in high school, how many times did you go to the library?
Well, it's fascinating. We just told the story about how often you went to the Lock Haven University Library. Anyway, I went when my daughter just toured Susquehanna University, and we went this winter.
Okay.
And we went on a Saturday, and we went into the library, and of course it was packed with students on a Saturday afternoon. But it's just all computers,
right?
And there are still stacks of books that you can find, and it's not. But like every desk, there were just computers. There were computers everywhere, and there was it might not have been a Starbucks, but there was a coffee shop.
Okay.
You could get a coffee, which would have driven me nuts because I'd be afraid that people were going to spill it on the computer, just like every time you sit there with an open soda can. But yeah, so it is. I wonder what. I was in our high school library once since they rebuilt the school. I don't know. It's a good question, but yeah, I don't. I don't know. I don't think it's helping the kids.
I should also say, like, I'm not implying they're useless. I'm not implying that we should get rid of them.
We should get rid of the library.
I'm just curious. Like, your point is, there was a meeting, there was a whole vote, there was a policy put in place for something that you kind of said, we don't even really know if there was an issue here. Like, they're saying none of the books in the library are leaving, so like there doesn't sound like there was a problem. So I'm just wondering, it sounds like a lot of energy and effort in general, and then throw on top of it, I just wonder how many kids are actually going to
how many kids went to the library? 12. Great.
Yeah. So I don't know. Seems like a lot of focus and energy and effort on something that I'm not entirely sure.
And I maybe they didn't know. Maybe are they that tone deaf to the point that this could make big news? If the ACLU's commenting,
you're
gonna make news, and now you just look bad.
You're certainly controversial
over a policy that didn't even need to be there.
From the sounds of it didn't need to be. In the moment, it sounds like they didn't need it. Right. Because I don't want to sound like if 10 years from now they use it, they're going to like come back and be like, we told you. But.
Yeah, it's like having a policy to prevent kids being killed by lightning strikes at high school football games. And you're like, well, have we had any? No. But now we have a safety policy.
Right.
So it won't happen to anyone. But it hasn't happened to anyone so far.
I see I
don't know. Anyway, I laughed. Right when I read it, I laughed. And I was like, why are they doing this?
I think you have a fair point. TV competitions.
I'm ready for this. I am ready for you to give away your $1 billion idea.
I should say this, by the way, though. You're not like I'm assuming. I don't think you're a TV reality competition, but you are a TV, like, you like Jeopardy.
We like Jeopardy. And if you like Jeopardy, you end up with Wheel of Fortune sometimes just in pregame.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I did, because let's do this first. Squid Game, which is the popular show on Netflix. That's been some debates in schools too. Remember the Halloween costumes and whether or not kids should be allowed to wear them. Squid Game, the challenge has been announced. Okay. It's going to be a reality competition series based on the hit Netflix show. It's going to feature the largest cast and cash prize in reality television history. It's going to have 456 players like the show, and it's going to go for $4.5 million.
So it's like Live Golf.
A little bit.
New game show, higher prizes.
They're gonna try to trump it. Did you see any of the competitions from the show? I know you didn't watch the show. Some of the competitions are pretty cool. Like it's kind of there is I'm trying to think. There's like green light, red light is one of them. There's this one where they have to like crack this cookie and you can't break the center of the cookie. And there's all these different shapes.
Can you eat the cookie?
you can lick the cookie to try to get it to like disintegrate so you can break out the shape, stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. But it got
so
me
they're playing
thinking.
a game, and this is from a guy who's never watched it. So they're playing a game where they're like, just lick it. That's the strategy.
I'm trying to remember. I think they have 10 minutes to try to crack this. It is like an old like Asian culture game though that you play. Like I guess historically, like this was a thing they did where like you had to try to like cut out the shapes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like an old playground game. So here's my thought to this. I grew up watching. I watched like the early seasons of Survivor when I was like in high school. I haven't like watched Jeopardy religiously, but I've watched a lot of it. The Challenge on MTV, obviously, I was at that age. Have you ever seen The Challenge, where they take the Real World and all those guys and they do all things? So here's what I think. I think there's 3 categories of TV competitions right now. I think there's Mind, which is your Jeopardies, your Wheel of Fortunes, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? These are trivial. These are you smarter than the game or the person across from you?
Bumper stumpers.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So I think that's the first category, which is bizarrely successful. I don't know if it's that people want to prove they're as smart as other people. Like, what is it about a Jeopardy?
People love trivia.
It's unreal.
They love it.
It's unbelievable. But here's the thing. Jeopardy Jeopardy should almost offend people, and it doesn't.
Why?
Like Jeopardy,
how dumb we are?
Jeopardy is like, in a way, Jeopardy's a little hoity-toity.
Oh, it's
like
way hoity-toity.
But it doesn't offend anybody. That's the point I'm making.
And I tell you why. I know. Because I think we know those people are smarter than us.
And we just accept
So when we get one, we're like, yeah,
okay,
I'm pretty smart too.
Okay. That's fair. So the mind trivia stuff works. So that's the first category. Then you have your physical challenges, right? So these are Survivor, The Challenge, Wipeout, Ninja Warrior. You have these physical contests where it's just like brute strength, like you're trying to show your ability. Okay. Then you have reality. So these are your bachelors, your bachelorettes,
right?
Love Island. I'm trying to think of like other things that might be
Rock of Love.
Did
you see Rock of Love?
Flav. What was it?
Oh,
Flavor of Love.
Oh, he was Flavor of Love. Rock of Love was Brett Michaels. Did you watch it?
I've seen episodes of the Flavor of Love. I have never seen the Rock of Love.
It's pretty funny.
Okay, I believe it. So those are like those are your 3 basic categories right now. I believe there should be a 4th category.
And I just need to cut this in at the end. In whatchamacallit, they're like, will you accept this rose? Yes. In The Bachelor, the Bachelorette. Yeah. He would say, would you continue to rock my world? That's how he said it, Rock of Love. So anyway, all right, go on.
Okay, so I believe there should be a 4th category. This category should be like elite or expert, right? So you have mind, you have physical, you have reality. The 4th category should be elite or expert. Here's the concept. I want to see average people trying to do the things that above average people do. Okay? So here's where this thought, just stay with me. Here's where this thought came from. My cousin and I, one day, we came up with this idea for a movie called The Commoner. All right? Okay. We wanted The Commoner. We wanted it to be where every 2 years, one average person in the world got picked to compete against the Olympians in the Olympics. And the reason you need The Commoner is because when you watch the Olympics, you can't tell how great these people are. You can't tell how good they are. You need one average normal schmuck out there who's trying to run the 400 and he's, 40 yards behind as soon as the gun goes off. Like, you need The Commoner to just show you, like, hey, just so you know how amazing this is, you can't do this. See that guy or girl right there? Like, yeah, it doesn't work this way, okay? So we wanted a movie about The Commoner. This guy gets elected, but he goes to the Olympic Village, he falls in love, and he actually finds a way to compete, and da-da-da-da. Okay, so that's our movie idea. Do you like it? That's our movie idea. The Commoner. Okay.
It's got its points.
I want The Commoner, though, to be a reality show. I want to see, average people doing above average things. I want to see an
average people can't do above average things. That's what makes them average.
That's the show. I want to watch some high school football star from, like, Oklahoma go to an NFL football practice, and they have to be like the practice quarterback for the day. Like, I want to see that. Like, I want to see a Subway artist go to like a 5-star restaurant and be like the head cook for a night. Like, I want to see the commoner in all these different aspects of society trying to like do the things that these above average people do. There should be an expert or elite level TV reality series. There should be a whole category of these things.
Huh. Interesting. Did you see the one? And we're going to talk out because we are like, there is a level of brilliance here that we're going to tap into.
Okay.
And we're going to give away $1 billion idea just by accident.
Did I not just give 2 away?
Did you
feel like I just gave 2
I don't know.
away.
You might have. Did you see the one? And I can't remember what it's called. I'm pretty sure one of the guys is gay. And they have to go through and they tell.
Oh, they have to tell who's straight and who's not?
Yeah. And then they have to guess.
This.
What's it called?
I don't know, but I've seen this. I've seen clips on TikTok and on YouTube.
Well,
I like doing
it. I think a version kind of combining that with kind of like Undercover Boss. It would be neat to put, what if you went the other way and you took the best of the best and put them in like normal? You took the 5-star chef and put him in Subway. Could you tell? As you lined it up.
You mean like could the actual person?
Could a normal person tell?
So you want to turn this more into a swap. Like half the show you're following the Subway artist at the 5-star restaurant, and the other half of the show you're following the 5-star chef at the Subway.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but that could work. And the reason I think of this, I saw this story of a guy, I want to say from there's the New York Philharmonic, the Boston Pops, some guy who is like a world-renowned violinist who played some, I don't know if it was a solo or just part of a piece of a performance, but it's supposedly one of the most difficult in the world, and he's one of the best in the world, and there's only this many people who can really play it well, and he's it. And he plays it for all these people that are paying thousands of dollars a ticket to see this. And then like 2 days later, they had him play it in a Subway with his guitar case open, and he made like $8.75 of something.
Right.
And they're just like, they're walking past and they're like, this guy is the best in the world. And can you tell? But because he wasn't on stage, he was in the Subway, that it just didn't register to people. And that fascinates me.
That the part of that fascinates me is there are like, because you could use this in any aspect of life. The question there is like, how many people, if someone started playing a violin right now, I've heard a violin live like twice in my life.
Well,
like
it's way better than we could do. So we'd be like, that's good.
So for example, like just staying with the 5-star chef thing, like if a 5-star chef made some like extravagant thing for me, I've probably never even had it before.
You've never had
like,
3-star.
Like,
how do you know what 5-star?
Like for all I know, it's like I guess it's good. Like I don't know. What do I even compare it to?
You can't compare it to.
No.
You're not.
So that part of it's interesting as well. So you're saying you're more fascinated at the average person, the average person's ability to recognize if somebody is the best at something.
I just think putting a normal schmuck like us in with the best of the best, that would get old because we would suck every week and it would get old quick.
Oh, here's what I would say. If you took, so just staying with the restaurant thing, if you took like 10 average people and you put a timer up and you threw them in like a 5-star kitchen and you just said like the timer, like see how long you can last. I would find that I wouldn't go 60 seconds. I would look around and I'd be like, I have no clue what I'm doing here. Like, I think that I would be neat to see who could actually like start to piece together, because I'm telling you, like 1 out of 100 would all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, this person kind of gets it. Like this person actually could be a 5-star chef, but they probably just didn't grow up. You know, like they didn't have the opportunity or they didn't grow up or they didn't go to school for it or whatever. I think what you would do is you would uncover like the hidden gems in America. Like, I think you would begin to find people that like, oh, this guy could have done this. Just the cards didn't lay out.
Right. No, I'm with you.
So that's the part that would be neat to me.
I'm with you. I am with you. Did you ever hear that? This is off on a different tangent. Did you ever watch This Week in Baseball?
No.
Okay. Well, it used to be a highlight show back before they had ESPN. It was in the 70s. It was the biggest thing ever. Like if you're a baseball fan, when This Week in Baseball is on, you watch it.
The television model failed them.
Whatever. So they, as time went on and whatever, and they had, they would have Jenny Finch. You know who Jenny Finch is?
Yep.
That she would go around and pitch to Major League Baseball players.
Yeah.
and show how hard it was because it was close and it was just different.
Yes.
And so they have like she's striking dudes out like week after week after week. And she gets to one, and I don't remember who it was. It would make the story better if I remember. He's like, he goes up and she does like strike one, strike two. There's foul balls and stuff. Strike two, and then he crushed one, and you could see she was just like. And he goes, "Well, you get to 2 strikes, you throw a changeup. You think I don't watch the show?" And it was hysterical. And she's like, "Oh, there's scouting reports on me." He goes, "Well, I watch the show. Like I see it every week. I'm not stupid." So I thought that was hysterical. Not that it has anything to do
that's pretty good. Vicky said so, like American Idol, but with careers instead of singing.
Well, I'm thinking as you're talking. So who is Guy? Who's the chef?
The guy who does the show? Like
no, isn't there a chef named Guy?
Oh, Guy Fieri?
Yeah,
Fieri?
Something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, we have 3 guys making burgers. Mm-hmm. We have Guy and then 2 schmucks who are just backyard dads with their grill. Yeah. And then you have and then they bring it out and you don't know who's. Can you tell
who made interesting. That? See, yes, I do like that. I like both of these concepts. I like can you tell the difference in prestige, yes or no? Because I think most people would fail. I think most people only know what you tell them.
I wonder also if you took with art. Now, the thing about artists is they're all dead. But like if there was a famous live art, maybe there is, and I'm just out of the art world. But could you take someone who's, a master's in paint, like, here you go. You have 4 hours. There's your easel. There's your easel. There's your easel. You all paint. Can you tell me which one is the guy who can sell it for $1 million and the guy who teaches art at the community college?
So I like your concept. The only thing that I don't like about it is it lacks that survival aspect of it. I want the intensity of like in the moment, can you do what these people do? And like I said, I think you would find one out of every so many that like all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, like this person might have missed their calling, or this person, like you would find those people. You really would. And I find that really, really neat.
What if they did that? And I've thought of this for long. What if they did the people sign up? What if they did a real life Hunger Games?
When you say real life, like real life?
People sign up.
Okay.
If you win 50 million. There's 6 people in this. If you win $50 million. If you don't, you're dead.
But they were really dying?
Yep.
See, I don't like that.
Do you think society would watch it?
Oh, that's not a question. The question isn't if society would watch it. Yeah, society's watching.
So you think they would make their $50 million back because they'd have 1 billion viewers?
And more. You would make more just off of like, especially if it was like a streaming thing and you had like the donation button and like you could actually like get like in the Hunger Games they can give gifts.
Right.
You could make billions. But the issue though is like the humanitarian side of it, like you're just never gonna get past it.
No, it won't happen, but I think it would work.
Yeah. I think if there was a way to do it where people couldn't die, I think people would very much be into that. Like if you had like a whatever dome and you could actually have people like surviving the elements, and people would tune into that, especially if they could be a part of it.
I'm on to something.
Yeah. If you could have,
no, never mind. I won't say that. That might get me in trouble.
Here, I mean, this is
off the air.
This is the other, because we're thinking out loud about how to perfect TV competition. Here's the other part of it. We're at the point now where I think what a lot of this stuff is missing is the crowd manipulation. So in all of this stuff, like The Bachelor and Survivor and all in Jeopardy and all these things, the first person who figures out a way for the crowd to participate it's going to take off. So what I mean by that is like these singing competitions, they realize like, oh, we'll let people, the audience vote. And that was ingenious. Like that was great. The next step is like on these Survivor competitions, like you can vote and so gets a loaf of bread and like that is, no, I'm being serious though. Right. Like shows are going to start to figure out, how can I, sitting at home, if I give $1 and this person gets the most donations, they get a loaf of bread. Like that's going to be the next thing.
Were you the one that told me the one about the people that were you had to agree to marry the person without seeing them?
Yeah, Love is Blind.
Love
on
is
Netflix.
Blind.
I'm still like that. You want to talk about a reality show that has completely the psychology of that show still fat. And listen, I know it's like garbage TV, and I totally get all of that. But like, if you're a psychology major, you have to love that show. I mean, the things that the people say, and just the whole aspect of like not seeing this person, and then they're there, and I don't know, it blows my mind away. It really does.
What is the success rate of these relationships?
Of Love is Blind? I don't know.
See, this is what I would even say.
Internet.
This is what I would even say. Because marriage, that's just stupid at the end of it. Like, you have to marry someone you haven't seen.
Here, I can tell you. According to the findings, Love is Blind has a 33% success rate.
So you guys have to live together for a year. You have like something along the lines that's kind of like doable, and then come back and like talk about how you did it. How did you get along? Did you hate each other? Was it good for 3 months and then you didn't speak for 9? Like,
no, I see what you mean. I guess that's the part of it. I guess that's the study, right? Is like, do you need those things or don't you?
I'll tell you something I would have loved to do at some point in my life.
Speed dating?
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that.
I would.
Well, I mean, you still can. You say it like your life is over.
No, you can't. Do they even do that anymore?
They must. They have to do speed dating. If anybody's
if anybody's ever gone just swipe left and swipe right.
If anybody's ever gone speed dating, like actual speed dating, please comment so we can talk to you, because I would imagine you could still do it.
I don't think there's not a need for it anymore.
Really?
Because the apps and like you can swipe through people. You don't need to sit and talk to 20 people for 5 minutes. You can swipe through 120 people.
Yeah, I get. Yes, if that's how you're doing it, I still think, like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people on dating apps. I think there's still a lot of people not on dating apps.
Yeah, I get it. I think speed dating kind of preempted the dating apps.
Hold on one second. There was a graphic.
Are you pulling up your dating app?
My dating app?
Is that what you're doing right now?
No, there was a graphic the other day, and it actually showed the shift in, I think, the last 2 decades of how people have met, how couples met.
Okay.
And it was this graph. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull it up. But the shift is incredible. Like, the numbers of how people used to meet versus how they meet now is really, really interesting. If I can find it here, it should be 1 second. So here it is. Are you ready for this? So in 1940, the number one, guess how most couples met in 1940?
Arranged marriage.
Not arranged marriage. I mean,
church.
Well, that's not fair, because the number one way was family.
Oh, so it could have been.
They met through family. That was around 28 to 29% in 1940, according to this poll. Number 2 was they met in college. Number 3 was they met in primary or secondary school. So in 1940, the 3 ways you met people were through family and school, essentially college and high school. Okay. In 2020, the bottom 3 ways that you meet people are in church, through your family, and in school. The top 3 ways that you meet people that
hold on, let me guess.
Go ahead.
Prison.
No,
not
sorry. Prison.
I thought that was one.
They met online.
Okay.
They met in a bar or a restaurant.
Okay.
And they met through their friends. So the dynamics of how couples have been like
not prison
decided, not prison, no prison. But like, think about that. Like, the method of how couples essentially met each other have literally flipped. Literally flipped. Just to give you an example of that, obviously before 1980, nobody met online. Now they estimate that 37% of couples meet online.
I believe that.
Okay. Here's
another
real quick. Here's another example of it. 12% in 1940 met in a restaurant or a bar. It's now up to 27%.
Okay. I don't even think they're all from, well, obviously I'm master of the obvious here. The immediate thought is that they're on dating apps. That 37% is on dating apps. And like I said, I've told you, and we've talked about through video games and through Facebook, I have a really, really good friend in Baltimore now who's a huge sports fan, and we have sports and music connection. I've never heard his voice. I've never seen him in person, but we comment on each other's stuff, and we'll send private messages back and forth sometimes about, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see that?
Yeah.
And I would consider him a friend.
Yeah.
And you've talked about people who've been invited to weddings of people that they just play video games with.
I have a cousin who has been not invited in weddings, like has been in the party, and their relationship is video games. They didn't grow up together.
Right.
They didn't go to college together. They didn't they played.
So when people talk about they met online, it wasn't necessarily like I'm going on eHarmony, I'm going on Tinder, I'm looking for. Sure. It's just of the online life. And then you're just like, oh, we became friends through this.
Yeah.
So
this is the other irony to this chart too, is that I think for most people, they think it's completely shifted from you met people in person to now you meet people online. And it's actually the opposite. You used to have to meet people. You might have met them in person, but it was arranged. Like you met them because they happened to go to your school, or you met them because your family knew them. Now, yes, more people are meeting online, but more people are also meeting in public, more so than ever before. Like according to this chart, more people are meeting in restaurants in like downtown than I would argue, just looking at this, 20% more than what they did in 1940. Well, so think about that. Like everyone has this idea of like we're on our screens and like you have to, and you're online and no one meets in person anymore. But like according to this study, that's the exact opposite.
You want to hear my theory on why?
Sure.
I think it's because it's so easy to communicate now. Then it's like back in the day, like you meet someone, hey, can I have your phone number, was a big deal. Now through like, hey, I'm friends with this. And I think it's easier for the people once they meet to stay in contact. And therefore the chances of the relationship obviously have to work. Okay. As opposed to like, hey, I met her once. Like how many times you can meet someone and you can stalk them online and find them like, oh yeah, she's friends with whoever. Hey, what? You don't even know her name. And you're just like, oh, she's roommates with this girl. And you can find her or, and so it's, I think it's so much easier to stay in touch. It's so much easier to communicate now with texting and snapping and all that stuff. Yeah. So
I'd agree with that. How about in 1940, 14% was because they were neighbors. In 2020, it's less than 3%.
Well, yeah, the world's so much smaller now. Like
you mean bigger?
No, you're just so connected with everything else.
Oh,
like when you were, how many people do you know? Well, I would love to see a stat of how many people in 1940 knew all their neighbors' names. And how many people now know their neighbors' names? And I'll tell you how crazy this is. I remember my best friend growing up. I could name the people who lived in all the houses around his house because he would just say it like it was this person, this. And now I can't name the people who live around my house. I can name some of them.
Right.
I can be like, oh, those are the people with the little kids who moved in 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
But I've never walked down and talked to them.
Yeah. No, it's pretty. The biggest decline on here is family. In 1940, it was the number one, 28, 29%. Today, it's almost 5%.
Because people's families don't want them to be happy anymore.
Is that what it is? They don't want to have a hand in their success of being happy.
Stay miserable.
Who in your family doesn't want you to be happy? Do you want to lay down on this couch right here and talk about it?
It's a long list.
All right. 1 through 10, my idea for a 4th television competition category.
There's certainly, I don't think watching a chubby guy try to run the 200 against Michael Johnson is all that interesting.
I think people would be here 2 things are going to happen. One, it does give you it's like the line.
It gives you perspective.
Because remember, you know what people really like in the racing competitions? The line that shows you the record. Okay,
I'm with you.
Here's what I'm saying though. You're telling me people wouldn't love to see a line of the average competitor, like the average person who swims. You don't think they would be fat? They'd be like, oh my God, look where I would be. Or look, people would love it. And I'm just going one step further and saying, just put them in the pool. Like just put a person in the pool and just let them swim against it. I think, and here's a second thing: people would fall in love with this person.
I think there's
people. No.
Oh, if it's the same.
It's the same. That's the commoner. It's one person. They do all the events. Yes, it's the commoner.
Okay, I didn't get that.
Yes.
So it's like John Belushi.
One person
Little
every 2
chocolate
years.
donuts.
Yes, one person every 2 years is the commoner, and they have to compete in the basic Olympic events.
Now it's better. I like it better.
And now they have to do them all. And like I said, the world would, it was, because here's the thing. The Olympics, it's your nation, and it's kind of, this would give the world one thing to get behind. Like the entire world, every person on the planet is going to root for Joe or root for Jen. Like they're going to root for this person because they are the commoner.
But how long are they going to root until they realize, like,
I don't think it would happen. I think that's the idea. It's like an every man and every woman. Like I think it would bond the entire world to have this one person.
You think?
You don't think so?
I don't know.
You don't think people would be buying like "Let's Go Joe" shirts and like "Go Get It, Jen"? Like people would fall in love with these people.
Pedro.
Yes.
Pedro shirts.
Yes, people would absolutely fall in love.
You might. They might. Well, maybe. By the way, not to change the subject. Vote for Pedro was what movie?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. Am I the only one that didn't like it?
Napoleon Dynamite? Probably.
I didn't think it was very.
You didn't think it was redeemable in any way?
I just didn't get it.
I mean, I can't help you. Listen. Do I think it was like a piece of art? No, but was it enjoyable and did it serve its purpose? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I should watch it again and give it another shot.
No, because if you didn't like it, you didn't like it. There's going to be nothing redeemed. Like you either got it or you didn't.
Well, I didn't. I told you this. I did not love Superbad the first time I watched it.
Yeah, you told me
because it was overhyped. And then 10 years later, I went back and watched it.
Well, then maybe you
really laughed.
Yeah, maybe you will like the point.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I just didn't get it.
I think it's so quirky. You get it or you don't. And here's the thing: like and if you don't get it, I'm not implying you're the wrong one. I'm just saying like you don't. It's not up your because it is. It's very narrow in its sense of humor. Like you're either a part of it or you're not.
They're either laughing at you or laughing with you.
Yes. Nikki asked a good question. When is Chick-fil-A opening? I don't think we're getting one.
Yeah,
I don't think we're getting one. I'll double. Nikki, we'll look into it, but I'm pretty sure we're not gonna get one the way it was originally reported.
I want to say for the last 20 years, people have been talking about. You know what this area needs? A Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, they're hard to get. This is the other part of it too. For anyone who's never looked it up, Chick-fil-A is very unique in the sense. First of all, they own almost all of their stores. There's very few owners that aren't a part of Chick-fil-A. Okay. Like they're just their own. The other part of it. If you own a Chick-fil-A, you cannot own anything else. So like if you're a business owner and you apply for a Chick-fil-A, they want the Chick-fil-A to be your only thing. That is your focus. It's your life. That is your ambition and the goal that you're after. So think about it like all the people that could afford to start a Chick-fil-A or do a Chick-fil-A stuff, they're immediately wiped out. Like they're gone because they own other business entities and all these other things. So it is very, very difficult. If Chick-fil-A, the company itself, does not decide to put one in, it's very hard to get one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And they have ridiculous standards for like who they accept, and it's pretty nuts.
You mean like racist LGBTQ?
Well, I mean that part of it, yes. But but there's the idea of like your credit scores, your background history, finance, how much leverage you have to have. Again, like I think my main point is most of the people that could leverage having a Chick-fil-A own other companies. No, you're not allowed to own another company if you want to own a Chick-fil-A.
I think it is the most in the restaurant industry. There is no greater chain that has a faction of people who just will not eat there because of their.
It's so funny because I feel the opposite. I feel like no restaurant has a greater following. Like
I think they're following but I think there are people that were like, I will never eat at Chick-fil-A.
Totally.
And I think there's more of that group for Chick-fil-A. Like there are people that are like, I would never eat a Burger King, I never eat a McDonald's. Right. But there are people like, I will never eat Chick-fil-A. But it doesn't mean Chick-fil-A struggling. Don't get me wrong.
I truly like. I'm not saying Chick-fil-A is perfect. They obviously have their own set of issues. However, from a food delivery standpoint, from a paying their employees standpoint, from a like work balance, work security, like no one does it better than Chick-fil-A. The people, the employees they're able to get and who they're able to hire because of their willingness to pay and move people up and treat them well. So it's like this conundrum, right? Like it's this confliction of like nobody treats their employees better than Chick-fil-A, but then they also have this whole thing
as long
about,
as they're straight.
and then there's this whole thing about not being open on Sundays and yes, and against the LGBTQ community. Like, so it's
They're not being open on
confounded.
Sundays is not like people.
Well, no, it is. It is though, because like if you're not religious, the idea of like not being open up on Sundays.
Well, but there's lots of restaurants that open on Monday.
You don't think the not being open on Sunday? You don't think there's a connection between? No. You don't think there's a connection between them not being open up on Sunday and then their non-support of the LGBTQ community?
Oh,
you don't think those two things are connected?
I don't think the people that don't go to Chick-fil-A are going because they're not open on Sundays.
No, I'm talking about the company.
No, but I get that.
Yeah.
No, yes, I do agree with that.
Yes. Yeah. So it is there. It's every time I go through a Chick-fil-A, I'm like, this is like fast food. This is how every fast food place should be. Like the employees are on it. They're on it. They're outside getting your order. They're helping you go through. You get to the window and it's there. Like it is. I'm like, if other restaurants could ever figure this out, they could kill it like Chick-fil-A, but they don't. So I don't know. It's a very conflicting company.
It is conflicting.
Yes.
I will give it that.
Anything else before we go?
Tonight, NHL Finals start.
Say it again.
The NHL Finals. Stanley Cup Finals start. The Avalanche and the Lightning.
I just feel bad that Canada just doesn't have anyone. I feel bad they don't have anyone to root for.
I feel another year, no Canadian team. Listen, I've talked to multiple Canadian people, and I mean multiple, because there's at least two that I can think of. And they said that Canada would lose their poop if a Canadian team won the cup, which isn't going to happen this year. What?
How old were they?
Both 50s, 60s.
Okay. I promise you the 25-year-old listening to Drake and their beats right now from Canada doesn't care.
Well, you know what? We don't care about the 25.
That's fine. I know. No, I'm not saying you should. I'm just telling you that they don't. Joanna, hey, anyone know why a tornado siren just sounded off in the old Armory area? I do not know, Joanna. I'm sorry.
I do not.
We will let you know if someone says. Sometimes we do get like messages. Like sometimes if you guys ask questions, we will get Facebook messages from our coworkers letting us know what's going on. We have not received any about a tornado siren.
Well, there you go.
All right. Anything else you can think of? Did you see Jurassic World yet?
Here, this is newsworthy that people might care about.
Okay.
Lottery ticket sold at the Dandy Mart on Route 287 in Jersey Shore.
Okay.
$862,803.
Wow. Not claimed yet.
I'm guessing it just happened yesterday.
Okay.
A $30 ticket. Fast play printed, blah, 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 it doesn't say, but yes. So it is at the Dandy Mini Mart on State Route 287 in Jersey Shore.
Okay.
If you bought a ticket there, it doesn't say what date. But if you bought a ticket there lately, you should look, because somebody just made almost $1 million.
Be crazy.
That wouldn't suck.
No, it wouldn't. That's another. We'll have to talk about it someday. We can't talk about it today, but the aspects of like these people that win the lottery and go broke.
Oh, simple. We can talk
about that.
Way simple.
Way simple. All right, that's it. Anything else?
Just like you. Way simple.
Way simple. I'm too simple. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
I think tomorrow we should open the show with you explaining why you were mad at your girlfriend's laundry as you were bleeding all over the floor.
We should have done it today.
I didn't think about it. It is a funny story.
I did. I mei'll tell you, I cut my foot on the divider.
Don't blow it now. Don't blow the story now. Yeah, save it till tomorrow.
We'll save it till tomorrow.
Because when you get to the punchline of like,
well, the best part,
where your mind can go.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the best part of the story is like.
So save it till tomorrow.
Yeah, the best part is my reflection afterwards.
Yes, yes, in the moment,
in the human, in how messed up the human psychology is.
Yes,
that, like because I don't think I'm alone. I think the majority of people would have went where my head goes. I feel lucky enough that I'm able to kind of like laugh it off and just like, I'm an idiot, because I think for some people they don't. Like, I think for some
No,
people
I
that
agree.
would've-
And I think we all do. We're all like, I can't believe I was really upset about that.
yeah.
And then, but yeah, there's a lot of people that don't have the ability
I'm
to go back
happy to
and
tell
laugh.
the story tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm Jeff
it's a good
Everett.
story.
He's Mark Messina. We will be back tomorrow.